Hey, hi, how you doing? This is the Gamertron. Welcome back to the Gamertron Show. Oops, I'm sorry, that's the wrong introduction for this video. Let me get that right. That's more like it. So, I have finally picked up and played Total War Warhammer. Full disclosure, I have never played a Total War game before, nor have I ever been interested in a Total War game before. The series has just never appealed to me, and from what I understand, previous games have had a very rocky road, with bugs, glitches, and horrible DLC plans. However, when Total War Warhammer was first revealed last year, I couldn't help but be excited, because I love Warhammer. And this was an RTS game taking place in the fantasy Warhammer setting, which there was one other RTS video game of, Warhammer Mark of Chaos, and I really enjoyed that game when I was younger. However, the game doesn't work anymore due to a lack of support and necessary performance updating patches from the dev. And unless you mess around with your OS systems and programs and desktop and all this other crazy nonsense and code, the game is basically unplayable nowadays and on modern PCs, which is just a damn shame. An unplayable Warhammer game? Just a damn shame. So to have another Warhammer Fantasy RTS fills my heart with joy. I love the Warhammer universe, Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer 40k, I love Warhammer. I love these crazy factions, these crazy characters, this crazy lore. The more video games based on this franchise, the better, because these universes are ripe for video games. Warhammer 40k Dawn of War, Warhammer 40k Space Marine, Warhammer End Times Vermintide, just to give a few examples. Excellent video games. And now I am so glad to add another one to the roster because, guys, Total War Warhammer is just awesome. As my first Total War game, I gotta say, this is a good entry point. This is a damn good entry point, and it does have me interested in checking out older Total War games, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the whole historical setting. But if the gameplay mechanics are anything like here in Total War Warhammer, then the earlier games now have my attention. One thing I gotta praise about the game right off the bat is its options. If you want to start a single player campaign, go through a tutorial for each of the factions and find out how they work in the campaign map mode and in the real-time army battles. You can. If you want to jump straight into multiplayer, you can. Whether it be multiplayer campaigns that take place across a campaign map, or just classic RTS PvP army v army. But if you're someone like me that likes to create big custom battles, experiment with all the different faction units, or just throw them all together on a map and just watch them duke it out, then the game lets you do that too. While I am enjoying and learning the single-player campaigns for each of the factions, this is Total War, so it does take some getting used to. There are a lot more statistics, complicated mechanics, and features to wrap your head around. But once you get a hand of it, start learning the numbers game, you'll find a very tactical, very deep, very in-depth strategy game here. But if you're like me, and you just like watching giant fantasy armies filled with colorful warriors and horrifying creatures just kick the shit out of each other, you can do that too. And I gotta say, it is just a joy, just an absolute joy watching these fantastical units and characters from the Warhammer fantasy universe, seeing them realized and brought to life in a video game, and watching them destroy the hell out of each other in these giant mosh pits of armies, soldiers, and creatures, piling, punching, hacking, and slashing on top of one another. It is a sight to behold, a marvel to behold. And while you can, if you want to, just throw an army together and just send them charging into the enemy army, it's certainly fun, the mosh pit that ensues. But if you actually want to win the battle, this being an RTS game, there of course requires strategy. Now the Total War type of strategy is very different to what I've played from other strategy games, and I found myself using unique tactics that I had not used in other strategy games before. Now in other strategy games, I'd like to build a force and either put some heavy support, tankier units in the front, have them take the bulk of enemy fire, while smaller anti-unit and anti-vehicle kind of units followed in behind them. In the RTS battles of Total War Warhammer, it's surprisingly a very effective tactic to hold units back. To not have them engage in the fight right away, but maybe move them to a certain position where they could perhaps flank the enemy, attack them from behind, or just wait for the opportune moment to strike when a certain group of units is faltering, or when you have them on the run. In most RTS games, I'm a fan of the blitzkrieg maneuver. Build a giant goddamn army and rush the enemy. You can attempt that here, it's manageable, and you will get some close call victories, but if you want a decisive, beneficial victory, you have to pick and choose which units engage the enemy first and which units engage each other. For instance, having unshielded units going up against enemy units with shields, like, there's an obvious advantage there. The enemy units with shields have greater defense, and will be able to hold off and even defeat simple melee infantry. So for units like shielded spearmen or shielded halberdiers, using artillery or cavalry or magic may be the better call. The kind of wonderful and crazy thing about that is that this all varies from faction to faction. And I love this in any and all strategy games, not just Total War Warhammer, but I'll be damned if this game doesn't also do this well, and that's having unique, different playable factions. And I'll be damned if the factions aren't unique, they play so completely differently from one another, whether it be on the campaign map or in the actual RTS battles. In the campaign map, the Orc faction, for instance, has to manage this unique resource and morale type called fightiness. You raise fightiness by having your armies engaging in constant battle, so it is beneficial for the Orc factions to just be constantly fighting something or someone. However, if your fightiness gets low, then the units within your army start fighting each other, and needless to say, units within your army start dying. So it's your choice, do you want your units to die to each other or the enemy? Then when it comes to the Vampire Counts faction on the campaign map, they can only progress forward safely through areas by raising a certain influence level through areas called corruption. It's mechanics and features like this that make this game just so damn replayable. But then we have the real stars of the show, the characters, the heroes, the individual units, the different soldier types and creatures, which Warhammer is famous for. Seeing them brought to life in this game just fills my Warhammer fanboy heart with joy. For the first time ever, I get to see and hear famous Warhammer characters like Archaon the Ever-Chosen, Grimgor Ironhide, Emperor Karl Franz, and Vampire Count Manfred von Karstein. Seeing these legendary characters from Warhammer actually voice acted and animated, it's awesome. It's really, really awesome. And seeing the different epic units from each faction realize. The Orc Boys, the Skeletons, the Chaos Warriors, the Griffins, the Dragons, the Giants. It's everything a Warhammer fan could love, and it's everything someone who is a fan of fantasy could love. I gotta say, guys, I'm really blown away by Total War Warhammer. And if you love real-time strategy games, and you love the fantasy setting, in real-time strategy games, then you will love Total War Warhammer. It's got depth, it's got creativity, and it's got not one but two historic IPs and franchises behind it. Really liking this game. Anyways, that's been a video. If you liked the video in any way, shape, or form, please hit the like button. Hitting the like button helps you, helps me, helps everybody involved with the video if you hit the like button. Please leave a comment. What are your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on Total War Warhammer and this video? Let me know your thoughts, feelings, and opinions in the comment section below. I love reading comments. Again, enough comments, please leave a comment. If you want to help out and support this video, then please share it on social media, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you want to help out and support me directly, then please consider pledging and becoming a patron on my Patreon. Anyways, guys, that's been a video, and I will see you all later.